This is Dan Dix here reporting for Press for Truth, and today we're going to be talking about a concept that some may consider to be a little bit kind of outside of the box type of thinking, and that is, as you can tell by the title of this video, the concept that if you want to gain true independence and financial freedom, you need to not save for retirement. Now, I know this is probably a hard concept for some people to understand because we've been told all our life this is something we should strive towards in order to have success later in life. But today we're going to talk about how that is not necessarily the case. And joining me on the line to help us understand this idea is Daniel Ameduri. He is the author of the new book, Don't Save for Retirement, A Millennial's Guide to Financial Freedom. So Daniel, thanks so much for taking the time to help us break down this very interesting concept, which I love. I'm 100% behind it. Now, the title of the book is Don't Save for Retirement, A Millennial's Guide to Financial Freedom. Now, in order to be a guide, you have to have walked the path once yourself in order to be able to guide millennials through this. So maybe we can start with you yourself. You're a man who has gone from being a grocery store clerk to multimillionaire in just 5 years. So maybe we could start with what was it that drove you to turn your life around so much and so quickly, and financially, how on earth did you do it?
You know, for me, it started picking up the ashes in 2009, like a lot of people. My mindset was we were going into a Greater Depression, as Doug Casey calls it. And I needed to do something. And I was like, I'm focused on not being poor. My wife was pregnant at the time, ultimately having our first baby in the fall of 2009. And just a lot of things going at me. I had foreclosures left and right. I had people squatting in properties that I had planned on flipping. And just really, I had made a real disaster of my life. And we went to a bankruptcy attorney's office. We ended up not filing bankruptcy, but I mean, we really had to hit reset. And ultimately, my wife and I, through a combination, and it's all in Don't Save for Retirement, of cutting spending dramatically and doing a short-term minimalist lifestyle. Short-term. I know that a lot of millennials are jumping on it, like do it permanently. I'm saying short-term, sacrifice, and focusing on things with discipline that only buy income. So it's very important that you have that paradigm shift in the mind. And it took me hitting rock bottom, that's for sure.
Well, a lot of, as you said, millennials may be hearing this concept for the first time and thinking, okay, hang on a minute, this is something different from what the baby boomer generation, for example, has been talking about. So what would you say is the one fundamental thing that, millennials need to understand moving forward here if they truly want to grasp this concept in order to be able to save for the future?
I would tell them to consider this. The baby boomers had the best stock market, best real estate market, best bond market. And according to Vanguard, the median 401k balance for somebody 65 and older is 58,000. So the generation that had it perhaps better than any other, and these people were going to college, working at burger stands and walking out of college debt free. So much different situation. It failed on them. Retirement hasn't been around forever. In fact, modern day retirement with 401ks and IRAs has been around since the 80s, probably since you were born if you're a millennial listening to this. So this is a very new idea. It's clearly failed. And so you have to ask yourself, are you going to apply all the same principles that didn't work and expect a different result? And you're in a much different situation, probably with some college debt. And of course, this goes for anybody, not just millennials, Gen X and baby boomers. It's failed. It's not too late to change your mindset. For your listeners, Dan, I set up a page at futuremoneytrends.com/save, and they can actually read the intro and the first chapter, which I think are probably the most important outside of chapter 9. But I mean, this mindset of just kind of deferring everything and retirement, it's all going to work out. That's the thing I'm arguing against. Like, people are like, hey, prove to us that passive income can work. And of course, it's got hundreds of years, thousands of years that it's worked for very wealthy people and wealthy institutions. And I'm like, wait a minute, because the New York Times recently contacted me, like, show us all the data for how many people are living off passive income. I was like, well, there's no data because that's not in the financial services best interest. I said, but what we do have data is on how spectacularly retirement has failed.
I'm guessing you're a man who sees something like a system of welfare as being a bit of a crutch, or, correct me if I'm wrong, but would you say that these systems of welfare are beneficial for people, or is it just removing the incentive for people out there to want to be, entrepreneurs and to want to better themselves in life. How do you feel about programs such as welfare?
Yeah, I think it's atrophied people's creativeness and atrophied their desire to enhance their lives. And I'm not saying people are like trying to become on welfare because they just want to kick back and live off government. But I'm saying even like something like Social Security. Think about what that implied safety net does to the mind. Well, I'm not going to save as much money in my 40s because I've got this pension and I got Social Security. Or maybe they were going to save a lot of money or invest a lot of money. They're like, you know what, I've got this 10% going out for Social Security. So I think a lot of these different programs, perhaps, a lot of people can connect with me on many different levels, whether it's sports or business. When your back is against the wall, you become creative, you innovative. You tend to do things that you might not have done if your back wasn't against the wall. I know that works for me. Think about your day. How many of us work for 8 hours a day? And I bet you could nail down your most productive hour is probably equal to 6 hours. So I think that in that sense, welfare is definitely not healthy for people just because it perhaps doesn't give them the motivation of time. And people say that's pure nonsense, but actually it's factual too. If you look at unemployment benefits, there is actual statistics over time that show that job seekers, let's say the unemployment benefits were for 6 months, job seekers, their applications, it's very low for the first 4 or 5 months. And then there's a massive spike. All of a sudden, you've got 50 to 100 applications going out during that last month of the benefits.
Well, I think one of the bigger issues that we're having with why people are failing to understand what you're talking about here is because of the educational system, because, economics are not really taught in school. It's been designed to be like a giant headache of a book that people don't even want to go through. So in your life, I know you have children. I believe you have 3 kids. What sort of things are you teaching them about money?
Yeah, that's actually my favorite chapter in the book is where I was debating, like, should I just write a whole book about it? And I was like, I'm just going to put everything I can into Don't Save for Retirement. And so one chapter goes over that exclusively. I mean, from things to saving to how they can treat money and really how they understand money. So many of us have been conditioned because we are ignorant of personal finance. Even college graduates who have business degrees tell me, Dan, I never learned anything about personal finance, certainly not in regular school. And, if you can just condition the children, imagine what it'll do to their life if you give them this discipline. Hey, when you make money and you save, only invest and save in things that produce income. Just do that one thing. Imagine if your kids end up owning, safe, preserving type assets, like a blue chip stock, like a what's that, Altura or Disney or something safe, or a real estate, a single family house, or perhaps private equity. Instead of getting themselves involved in something like a 401k where they're speculating and hoping it'll go up, or they're hoping the tax rate will be lower. I mean, you're just conditioning the mind to speculate, to always, hope that something goes up for them. But instead of just saying, hey, look, do what the rich do, preserve and focus on income. And so my kids, they have stock accounts so they can buy shares of Disney. I try to make it easy on them, like things they understand. But it also helps them understand the business. So you take Disney and bring them a little more involved in, hey, why is this company exceptional? Do they over deliver or under deliver? And all of a sudden you start having those conversations when we walk out of another business. Hey, did this company over deliver or under deliver? What makes a company exceptional? Because ultimately they need to understand to make money, you have to deliver value to other people. Either you yourself or your investment dollars have to deliver value to other people.
Yeah, it's all about bringing value. And I think moving forward for this millennial generation, there is opportunity there in particular in the blockchain space. And I wanted to get into that in particular because you at futuremoneytrends.com are people who were talking about this back when Bitcoin was trading at $13 per Bitcoin. So you're someone who has some forward thinking and understanding of blockchain tech. So what sort of things can they do in this space moving forward? And are there other asset classes or other sectors similar to Bitcoin that you are now seeing today with great potential, just like you did way back then with Bitcoin at $13?
Sure. Yeah, no. So if you're a blockchain enthusiast or somebody who understands cryptography, I would go all in on that in my opinion. If you actually enjoy that and understand it, that is obviously where the world is going. I mean, you look at either central banks or Facebook or JP Morgan. That is where we are trending to, and that is something that a millennial or a Gen Xer could really latch onto and make a career for themselves. Now, if you're like me and you're looking at this from an investment standpoint or a speculation standpoint, I love speculating in the cryptocurrencies, but I tend to go with Bitcoin and some of the bigger ones, Litecoin, Dash. I like the bigger ones and specifically Bitcoin because regardless of all these altcoins, which are like penny stocks right now, Bitcoin is still the most successful cryptocurrency. And I think it will continue to be so. It has become the rich man's gold. And so I like Bitcoin for that aspect. Now, you asked me on other sectors I see like this, the opportunity is ripe in the cannabis space. Unfortunately, you have to deal with a lot of government regulation and a lot of BS. However, if you can muscle your way through, there is extraordinary opportunity in either servicing the cannabis industry. You don't have to sell weed. You don't have to be in cannabis. There's a great company I just talked to. They're making boatloads of money just doing security and transportation of the plants. It's brilliant. They're basically like Brinks on wheels, but you have to have certain cleanliness and certain temperatures. So they're catering to that industry. And I asked him, I go, what's the difference? Why doesn't Budweiser have an armed guard? And he's like, well, Budweiser has about $25,000 to $100,000 of product on their trucks. He goes, if you fill that with cannabis, he goes, you're talking about $5-10 million. I'm like, okay, well, that's the difference. Okay, so I understand. So there's all sorts of opportunities to service either the blockchain industry or the cannabis industry, either directly or indirectly in the derivative organizations that service these companies.
Yeah, fantastic advice. I strongly agree. Both these sectors moving forward have huge, huge potential. Right now is the time to get involved. Especially in the cannabis space. Like you said, you don't necessarily have to grow. I think one of the areas moving forward there that people ought to focus on now, because there's been a lot on the rec side, but a lot of the medicinal patients are being neglected in places like Canada where the rec is taken over. So I think there's a market there as well for us to put this back into the hands of the people who need it and use it as medicine. Maybe some of these millennials can think, forward thinking there and lobby government, do whatever they have to do to advance that area of the market. But as you said, there's huge potential here, but it comes down to the individual taking responsibility for their own life, right? And I think that's essentially the concept of the book in a nutshell, right? So maybe in closing, if you have any other kind of final thoughts on what people need to think about moving forward, if they want to protect their assets, they want to be able to, not think about retirement as a final goal, but to actually be able to retire without that being your goal. You know what I mean? So yeah, how can you sum that up?
Look, wealth, ultimately, you have to define it for yourself. For me in the book, I define it as the freedom and the ability to control my time. Am I waking up when I'm done sleeping? Am I waking up when I want to? Do I need a permission slip to go somewhere, to take a vacation? So I want to control my time. So that to me is wealth. Well, you have to buy that freedom. And so a lot of people just accept this cookie cutter lifestyle. Hey, I'm going to finance my car for 7 years. I'm going to go to college. I'm going to get a job. I'm going to all these things that we act as if they've been around for thousands of years, when really, if you really look into it and deep into it, like if you read Don't Save for Retirement, you'll see that these things are actually, a lot of them are relatively new. There is no cookie cutter blueprint perfect life. Choose your own life, take a step back and really think about how you want to spend your time here on earth and how you want to spend your time and how you can make changes in your own life to empower yourself to be more free. Maybe passive income doesn't replace your income. Maybe it's only half, but it allows you to perhaps quit a job you hate and now monetize a hobby. Maybe you're a martial arts or yoga instructor, and that's what you love doing, and you're able to quit your engineering job or whatever because you have the passive income. So it's not a one size fits all for anybody. I encourage you to read the book and really set your own terms, choose your own destiny. And again, for your readers and listeners, futuremoneytrends.com/save. You can read the first chapter. It, of course, has a link to Amazon if you want to read the rest and buy the book. But I'd highly recommend you just read that intro. I think you'll be inspired and encouraged to really say, you know what? No matter where you are, you can make the changes and choose your own destiny.
Absolutely. It's all about following your passions and doing what you truly want to do. I love the saying. I saw it on graffiti on a wall somewhere. It said, it's not Mondays don't suck. There's no problem with Mondays. It's your job that sucks.
Yeah.
So on that note, again, thank you so much for taking the time to help us understand this really, really awesome concept that I really do think is going to help millennials going forward. The book is available. It is now out. Where can people go right now if they want to get the book to learn directly from it?
Yeah, easiest place, if you want to just buy it, it's Amazon.com. I mean, the other bookstores have it, like Barnes & Noble, but go to Amazon.com. It's a bestseller in about 8 categories right now. So please check it out. I think you'll love it. If you have any complaints or questions, you can always contact me at Future Money Trends.
Awesome. All right, man. Thanks so much for helping us break this one down. Folks, links will be located in the description below. I strongly encourage you to check it out, especially if you're a millennial, but even if you're not, it's well worth your time. So once again, Daniel, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Dan.
We all want truth. The truth will set you free.